Music. In life's journey, everyone experiences that pivotal instant when they gaze into the mirror and grasp that the reflection gazing back doesn't quite match the individual they had envisioned becoming. Perhaps it's not outright defeat that lingers, but a subtle feeling that an essential piece has vanished, a subtle rift separating their current self from the potential future version. That instant, blending insight with unease, marks the true onset of personal evolution. For external shifts and transformation only follow after an internal, unspoken mental uprising takes hold. We often view alteration as a singular occurrence, a choice, an epiphany, a critical juncture. Yet, reality shows that true evolution involves breaking down and reconstructing one's psyche. It goes beyond merely altering actions. Music. It entails viewing reality via an entirely fresh perspective. Music. Such profound inner shifts don't occur swiftly. They develop subtly, typically amid challenges, uncertainty, and deep reflective episodes that many prefer to evade. Experts in psychology have explored this concept extensively. Carl Jung termed it individuation, the journey of merging the divided aspects of one's identity into a cohesive entity. Abraham Music Maslow regarded it as the route to self-actualization, the steady realization of an individual's complete capabilities after fulfilling core requirements. Music, stripping away the frameworks and labels, the essence remains straightforward. Evolution kicks off when the agony of remaining unchanged surpasses the anxiety of evolving. Plenty of folks never cross that line deliberately. They navigate existence by cycling through routines, replaying the same emotional routines absorbed from youth. Their decisions stem from unseen narratives, convictions shaped by relatives, society, or initial encounters. These music convictions erect mental barriers that subtly define perceived possibilities. I'm inadequate. Folks like me can't thrive. It's past the point to reboot. They appear innocuous, yet they form the hidden framework shaping a life. The essence of psychological evolution starts the instant we begin scrutinizing those barriers. Music. Not immediately demolishing them, simply acknowledging their presence. Recognition, however basic it seems, represents the initial defiance against a programmed mindset. For once the cycle becomes evident, full dominance by it slips away. Scientists examining neuroplasticity, the capacity of the brain to reorganize, have uncovered an astonishing fact. Each occasion you deliberately confront a long-standing conviction or routine, your neural pathways genuinely start rewiring. Fresh links emerge. Music. Existing ones fade. The mind isn't a static blueprint. It's a dynamic, evolving terrain that responds to your encounters and reflections. In scientific language, evolution equates to neurobiological reshaping. Music. You're essentially remodeling your own psyche through opting, reflecting, and behaving, music, in novel ways. Yet, the irony lies here. The majority seek evolution absent any unease. Music. They crave the benefits of alteration without the resistance that enables it. However, from a mental standpoint, unease isn't an indicator of defeat. Music. It signals your mind venturing beyond familiar routes. It's the former self-yielding grip. Music. The sense of self pushes back since its core role is to preserve equilibrium. This explains why progress resembles turmoil. Your internal framework clings to the known, even if that known is what's constricting you. If you've attempted reshaping a routine, rising sooner, nourishing better, fostering optimism, you've probably sensed this pushback. It's more than mere sloth. It's your mind safeguarding its core essence. Experts in cognition label it homeostasis, the mental process ensuring your self-perception stays steady. When actions clash with your perceived identity, unease arises, prompting efforts to revert to prior equilibrium. Thus, genuine evolution doesn't launch with fresh routines. It initiates with an updated self-view. The sense of identity needs to evolve first for behaviors to endure. Consider this. If you regard yourself as perpetually chaotic, a single or dual room tidy-up won't stick. Your mind will revert to disorder. If you deem yourself inept with finances, a week's discipline might hold, only for subconscious derailment to follow. But upon adopting eis quote variedades or r quote hanivran, alignment with a revised self-image begins, and with that identity pivot, actions flow effortlessly rather than through effort. Hence, evolution serves as an identity overhaul, masked as personal enhancement. All significant shifts, from overcoming dependencies to mending connections, originate from reimagining your self-perception. This underlies the effectiveness of counseling, reflective writing, and self-examination. They render the subconscious tangible. They H. This approach lets you uncover the underlying convictions influencing your existence. Once those concealed elements come into view, they tend to lose their grip significantly. Yet the journey isn't straightforward, it's more cyclical in nature. Many who undergo profound shifts describe it as a loop: advancement, uncertainty, setbacks, insight, and fresh beginnings. This echoes Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, in which the protagonist departs from the safety of routine, confronts internal challenges, and ultimately comes back altered. Research in psychology backs this up. True change frequently involves a liminal stage, the threshold between your former self and the one emerging. It's disorienting and uneasy, but essential, as it creates the space required for renewal. Fascinatingly, the brain replicates this rhythm. During a liminal period, like leaving a position, dissolving a partnership, or tackling past wounds, your brain's default mode network ramps up. This area links to introspection and the construction of personal narratives. Essentially, it's the mind's method of revising your life story. Each fresh narrative you construct about yourself, when reinforced through repetition and feeling, starts to take root in your neural pathways as a revised reality. So the idea that you embody your convictions isn't mere poetry. It reflects a tangible mental mechanism. Beliefs aren't isolated ideas. They're recurring neural activations that solidify into what seems authentic. The path to altering them lies in deliberate practice, affective support, and novel encounters that demonstrate to your brain the outdated template no longer holds sway over music, your world. However, the key challenge, and the spot where many change efforts falter, is this. Individuals often push for overhaul via brute determination, imposing fresh habits atop lingering self-concepts. They declare, "I aim to feel assured," yet deep down still view themselves as timid. They project resilience outwardly while inwardly doubting their strength. Music. The deeper mind sees through the act. It's too familiar with the previous storyline. Thus, genuine evolution demands authenticity prior to exertion. You cannot evolve into a different person if you're deceiving yourself about your present state. Brutal candor forms the bedrock of such growth, not the self-lashing variety, but a compassionate revelation of your internal landscape. This is how I truly sense things. This is what I've sidestepped. This is what lingers in pain. Such forthrightness dismantles the mental barriers that lock you into outdated routines. It's akin to tending to an injury, initially sharp yet vital for recovery. Once you attain that degree of transparency, a pivot occurs. You cease forcing alterations from a stance of self-criticism and instead grow from a foundation of self-awareness. That's a vital difference. Much of the self-improvement industry misses the mark because it presumes you must repair flaws. But psychological evolution isn't repair work, it's unification. Music. It entails embracing the aspects you've rejected and collaborating with them rather than battling. Take someone battling delay, for instance. Superficially, they might think stricter self-control is the answer. Deeper down, though, delay often masks apprehension, dread of defeat, triumph, or critique. When that apprehension receives understanding rather than blame, the habit begins to fade, music, as the psyche no longer requires evasion for defense. In essence, evolution isn't an assault on the self, it's a mending of inner divides. This explains why tuning into feelings serves as a pillar for enduring shifts. You cannot evolve elements you won't confront emotionally. Feelings act as indicators, insights from the unconscious, highlighting discord or unresolved issues. Rage could indicate violated limits. Music. Grief might highlight bereavement or unfulfilled desires. Worry could expose the tension between your past and budding music identity. By decoding these feelings rather than burying them, you navigate beyond them instead of remaining ensnared. Music. Contemporary studies in psychology reveal that practices like mindfulness and self-kindness hasten such evolution by dialing back the brain's alarm system. When you meet your unease with interest instead of criticism, the amygdala, that hub of music alarm, eases. This unlocks the prefrontal cortex, which handles logic, choices, and sustained development. Put plainly, self-gentleness directly broadens your potential for adaptation. The deepest evolutions unfold without fanfare, not in bold proclamations, but music, in those quiet instances where you notice yourself opting for a new path. You hesitate prior to responding. You inhale prior to voicing. Music. You decline when habit once prompted agreement out of timidity. Every such instant marks a small-scale mental uprising. They reshape your core. Music, and as they build up, the former self-image fades as the hype dies down. Music, something more authentic, liberating, and true to your emerging self, takes its place. Music. Yet, we seldom spot personal evolution in the moment. Only in hindsight do you grasp the distance you've traveled. Music. The discussions you now dismiss, the ideas that no longer control you, the suffering that fails to shape you, these signal real shifts. Your current self would baffle the one from your earlier days. That's the subtle wonder of inner growth. It rarely hits as a dramatic epiphany. Instead, it's the slow awakening that you've surpassed a former version of yourself, all without aiming to dismantle it. Music. Even so, there's perpetually more to reveal. Evolution doesn't conclude, it advances. Each step into a fresh sense of self brings life, music, offering yet another gateway, another facet of your being ready to merge. Development demands no flawlessness, just your involvement. The intellect pushes back. Emotions hesitate, but an inner force propels you onward, guided by that subtle yet insistent draw toward unfolding. What many get wrong about personal evolution, music, isn't the need for strict control or drive. It's rooted in perception, a perception so raw it starts to unravel deceptions. For when you view things sharply, when you understand the true workings of your thoughts, music, the anxieties, the stories you tell, the shields you raise, true liberation emerges, not the sort that simplifies life, but the variety that empowers deliberate choices, music, even amid difficulty. Consider the mental process known as cognitive dissonance, the unease arising when behaviors clash with convictions. Folks typically ease this tension by reverting actions to fit outdated views. True changemakers flip the script. They allow the unease to persist until it compels their convictions to advance. Music. They weather that limbo stage of uncertainty, where retreat feels impossible due to heightened insight, yet progress lacks full assurance. There, the genuine effort unfolds. There, evolution solidifies into your core. From this angle, music inner growth isn't one isolated occurrence. It's an ongoing dialogue between your former self and the one you're shaping. Daily life offers quiet prompts to react anew, reason differently, observe afresh. At times, you stumble. At times, you slip into familiar patterns. Music. But even so, you don't reset to nothing. Insight doesn't fade away. Music. Once truth reveals itself, it endures. It murmurs amid your decisions until you heed it once more. Music. An often ignored element of evolution is your surroundings. We tend to think sheer determination suffices to conquer all. In truth, though, our settings, the company we keep, music, the media we absorb, the spots we frequent, they all bolster our sense of identity. From a mental standpoint, your environment reflects back who you are. If you're aiming for greater innovation, but dwell among skeptics, your mind gets mixed messages. The outer realm keeps nudging you toward the outdated identity you're shedding. Music. This explains why experts in habit shift stress environmental shaping. To evolve, craft a space that nurtures your emerging self. Eliminate prompts from your old ways. Introduce reminders for the new path. Encircle yourself with those who recognize your possibilities beyond your backstory. Since every sensation, every exchange, music, every noise, every locale molds your brain's connections, noticed or not, you can't sow fresh growth in poisoned ground and anticipate flourishing. Music. Yet the profoundest aspect of evolution bypasses the external entirely. It centers on what convictions you permit inside. For convictions aren't mere passing notions, they're directives your mind sends to your form. Music. If you hold that change is impossible, your body's stress response gears up for defeat prior to starting. If you trust in your potential, your systems adjust. Your pulse, your stance, your attention, they all sync with that internal assurance. It's no sorcery, it's the science of anticipation. The mind reacts to perceived reality. That's precisely why mental imagery and positive declarations, infused with genuine feeling, yield tangible results. Brain researchers show that envisioning an activity lights up almost identical neural areas as executing it for real. Music. The sharper your mental practice of a novel self, the more your mind treats it as routine. And the weaker the pushback when you live it out, you essentially turn into what you repeatedly enact music as. Still, evolution isn't mere fakery. It's about integration. Fakery declares, Wakiniting quote 3. Embodying puts it this way. Ye quote fario. At its core, the human mind doesn't yearn to morph into a stranger. Instead, it longs to reconnect with the complete version of itself that's been overlooked amid the chaos. This forms the core irony of personal growth. It might seem like you're turning into a different person, but really, it's about rediscovering your true identity once anxiety and societal pressures stop steering your decisions. Numerous thinkers have explored this idea via the concept of the inauthentic ego, the facade you build to navigate life's demands. As kids, we adjust. We figure out what wins approval and dodges criticism. We craft a disguise that blends into our environment. Over time, though, that disguise starts to choke you. It restricts your authenticity, your honesty, your liberty. The path to change kicks off when you cease clinging to that disguise. You begin pondering, what lies at my core beyond all the lessons I was fed? Just posing that query can unravel years of mental programming. In counseling sessions, folks sometimes call this ego dissolution, not some theatrical event, but a slow unraveling of attachment to the fabricated identity. You ease up on fiercely guarding your views. You let go of the urge to always be correct. You quit striving to validate your value. Instead, you watch your ideas from afar rather than merging with them. From there, growth shifts from hard work to a natural blooming. The further you let go, the more room you open for genuine elements to surface. Yet, genuineness isn't static. It's ever-shifting, responsive. The you of now isn't the you from half a decade back, and that's no inconsistency. It's progress. The study of inner change acknowledges identity as ever-evolving. Every conviction, encounter, and heartfelt insight reshapes part of your inner narrative. So forget pursuing some ultimate self. Evolution urges you to dwell in sync with your present reality, aware it'll evolve alongside you. That said, change demands bravery. Not the flashy movie-style variety, but the steady, understated type that persists in solitude. Because altering who you are involves letting down echoes of your former life and occasionally letting down folks tied to those echoes. Expect confusion from others. Certain bonds may fade. You could even doubt your own mind now and then. That's expected. Development frequently mimics setback prior to revealing freedom. What slips away in ease, you reclaim in insight. There's a seldom discussed mental principle, the rule of feeling preservation. It posits that bottled-up feelings don't vanish. They morph into habits, assumptions, or bodily strain. Once you commit to evolving, those pent-up feelings bubble up. That's the source of the storm. You're not shattering, you're unloading what the psyche has clutched, the weeping, the disorientation, the weariness. These aren't markers of frailty, they're indicators that outdated emotional reserves are clearing out. Each letting go carves out room for fresh starts, and as you release more, your bond with time transforms. The horizon ahead ceases to feel like a far-off pursuit. It starts resembling a gentle unfolding born from your now-moment decisions. Music. This marks a profound mental pivot from pushing to surrendering, since halting the quest to reinvent yourself lets you simply inhabit who you are. Music. You operate from harmony, not panic. Paradoxically, that's precisely when shifts accelerate. The instant you abandon the hunt for growth is typically when you truly inhabit it. Music. Keep in mind, though, that evolution isn't invariably obvious to onlookers. Music. At times, it appears as tranquility, quietude, or even retreat. You might dedicate weeks to contemplation, study, music note-taking, or mere awareness. To outsiders, it could seem like stagnation, yet inside, your brain circuits are realigning. Music. Your hidden convictions are getting overhauled. Advancement doesn't always trumpet its arrival loudly. Often, the most profound upheavals occur silently amid your routine. Music. And once the refreshed identity settles, it rings oddly recognizable. Music. You won't sense like a newcomer. You'll sense like you've returned to base. The ongoing music internal strife eases. What once set you off forfeits its grip. Music. You reply with poise over reactivity. You express yourself straightforwardly, sans preparation. You navigate existence with a rooted stability. Music. Unbound by results. That's emotional adulthood, not the lack of hurt, music, but the emergence of viewpoint, active. Neurologically speaking, this phase aligns with greater synchronization between the brain's emotional hub, the limbic system, and its rational command center, the prefrontal cortex. It's the fusion of feelings and logic, gut reactions and mindful reflection. Your responses evolve into deliberate decisions. Your urges transform into profound realizations. You break free from automatic habits and begin navigating life with purposeful awareness. This is what experts in psychology refer to as self-mastery and internal harmony. Yet transformation persists even in this stage. Since the self isn't a fixed endpoint, it's an ongoing journey of adjustment. As fresh obstacles emerge and deeper insights unfold, you'll continue to grow. Music. Think of transformation not as a straight climb, but as a helix. You circle back to familiar themes from elevated planes of understanding. The key shift. Each revisit brings added insight, greater tolerance, and diminished anxiety. Psychologist Viktor Frankl summed it up brilliantly. When we can no longer alter a circumstance, we face the task of altering ourselves. That's the core of true change. Acknowledging that outward mastery has bounds, while inward growth knows no limits. Music. Though you can't dictate events, you can always shape their significance. That reframe is what infuses suffering with meaning. So if you're poised at a crossroads filled with doubt, worry, or uncertainty about your emerging self, remember it's woven into the journey. Disorientation isn't defeat. It's the gap bridging former and future selves. It signals the breakdown of outdated frameworks as innovative forms begin to solidify. No need to map every detail. Simply remain present amid the shift. Consciousness serves as the connector from past to potential. In time, transformation ceases to be an effort. It turns into your default mode of existence. Radical overhauls fade because your days embody perpetual refreshment. You expand organically without strain. Music. You absorb lessons effortlessly. You mend at your own pace. And during those serene intervals, you start to grasp music, the transformation never aimed for the spectacular. It was about discovering that ordinary life, lived mindfully, holds its own wonder. Thus, the psychology of personal evolution isn't a pursuit of flawlessness. It's nurturing mindfulness, empathy, and authenticity. It's harmonizing your inner realm so profoundly that the outer one mirrors it seamlessly. It's mastering the art of traversing uncertainty sans assurances. After all, existence boils down to endless metamorphoses. From naivety to wisdom, doubt to clarity, isolation to openness, look nearer, and you'll notice no true conclusion in the closures you've endured. Each was a rite of passage, Every loss, every setback, music, every wave of hopelessness served as the forge that deepened your capacity. The self you're shaping isn't born of chance or drive alone. It's forged from every bold encounter with your truth, when evasion tempted more. That's the true nature of transformation, not one grand epiphany, but an enduring dialogue linking who you were to who you're yet to be. It lacks flash, it demands grit, but it's genuine. And ultimately, authenticity is what endures. To claim a life that's honest, attuned, and vibrant enough to declare, "I didn't merely survive, I unfolded."